Hi everyone, I'm Rob King. Welcome to the Homebrew Masterplan 2024 retrospective to see just how well we did. Let's start by saying we completed all of the plan and all of the additions that came up throughout the year. But it was tough to squeeze it all in, and next year I'm definitely going to just take a slightly more relaxed approach than the rigorous one I took this year. But how did all of those brews perform? Well, let's start with the 15 brews in chronological order. This was the order in which all of them were prepared, not necessarily when they completed and were ready. We had a good range of different brews, and today we're going to have a look at just how well they performed, just exactly how much they cost, and also finally the ABV. Starting then with the performance, and the Blue Moon clone came out top of the pack, and it was absolutely delicious. I've broken this table down into three broad groupings, and at the top half of the table we have all of the absolute winners. None of these by any stretch of the imagination were a bad brew. They all were absolutely delicious, and that was the Blue Moon clone absolutely at the top. That pear cider came in as a late entry and was wonderful. I was surprised by the Dunkel. I'd never brewed a Dunkel before, loved it, fabulous result. And the pumpkin ale, so smooth, absolute winner. My birthday double IPA from Flora Brew's recipe, that was fabulous. And my hazy coming out of V2, also a great winner. And then finally the Marzen, the kit from Call My Loof, also absolutely wonderful. All of them winners hands down. And then we have the bottom of the table, and at the very bottom the Valentine's Mead. That was a catastrophe, and as you'll see later on, that was also the most expensive brew that I did. The ciders, the two ciders I did at Easter, also both turned out rather poorly. Very disappointing, but we did make up that with the winning Christmas ciders. And then the winter warmer kit, that just was a disaster. Despite multiple attempts at conditioning, it really did have that astringent taste that I just could not get rid of, despite extended conditioning. Meanwhile, in the middle of the table, these were all fabulous brews. They were stars in their own right. What really happened with these that knocked them down the scoring was often that they did not quite meet the style to which we were aiming for. However, in terms of taste and flavour, they still went down really well. So they do deserve a real thumbs up in terms of the end result. So overall, 11 of the 15 brews were all excellent. Nice. Next, we have something close to my heart, the cost. Our three most expensive homebrews then were the Pumpkin Ale, the Valentine's Mead and the Winter Warmer kit. Now it's going to be interesting in a moment when we look at the price per pint, because the volume also will improve the rankings as far as these are concerned. And perhaps not unsurprisingly, at the bottom end of the table, the cheapest homebrews were all the turbo ciders. Pure apple juice is quite cheap, and that really did sort of push down the price, and therefore will also improve the price per pint. Meanwhile, the middle of the table are all of the all-grain recipes, ranging between £13 and £27, and I'm quite surprised their hazy turned out there quite at the top. These were all home brews that delivered a great punch. So if you are considering homebrewing, this is the range you're looking at. Now the volumes did vary on these a little bit, and we'll see that in a moment as we compare the price per pint. The Valentine's Mead then at £6.79, that was absolutely catastrophic. And it didn't taste that good. However, at the other end of the table, we are seeing some real winners. These were all coming in below £1.60 per pint, which is really cheap. And in actual fact, the one that scored the highest, the Blue Moon, comes in second from bottom at £1.21 per pint. That was a superstar of a result. In my mind, these were all very cheap. Unfortunately, very cheap doesn't mean very good, and you can see the Winter Warmer came in as the cheapest, despite being probably one of the worst in terms of end result. That is not to say that this batch in the middle is expensive, because between £1.70 and £2.44 it is still a bargain of a homebrew, so long as the taste is good, which the Nipper, the double IPA, the Marzen, the pumpkin ale, the Dunkel, the fresh apple cider, all were absolutely delicious. Less said about the strawberry and lime cider, on the other hand, the better. Our final statistic then is the ABV, and the Valentine's mead, unsurprisingly, was at the top of the table. And then there was a fairly mixed bag between 4% and 8.5%. That's not a bad range. The ciders coming in at slightly the higher end, with the pear cider and the Christmas cider both coming in around 7.9%. And of course, as expected, the double IPA up in that range. Meanwhile, the majority of the all-grain recipes came in between 4 and 6.3%. The Irish Stout and the Kronenbourg 2024, although there was an error in that recipe which reduced the ABV, both came in at the bottom of the spectrum. Surprisingly though, the Kronenbourg was delicious despite missing its target, so I am going to try and recreate that one again, but with all of the correct ingredients this time. So this is our final table of rankings and data, but I will bring us back to the final scores. It was all in the flavour and the results, and again I think, some wonderful recipes this year. Well, I am just putting together the Homebrew Master Plan for 2025, so look out for that in the future. In the meanwhile, a very happy new year. Good health to you all. Cheers and thank you for watching. Oh, and like and subscribe, of course. Cheers. Here is a blast from the past. This is the Homebrew Master Plan with 14 homebrews aligned to 14 special events throughout the year that we proposed back in January 2024. And this is the end result, 16 homebrews aligned to 16 special events that we achieved for the Homebrew Master Plan. Thank you for following along, and do look out for the Homebrew Master Plan 2025. Cheers everyone, happy homebrewing.